Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Craven, and welcome to part 3 of our 3-part series on how to use data to drive decisions. In part 2, we created some filters with pivot tables to give you the numerical data you needed. Then we created some drop-downs and other filters to narrow down and put a focus on certain data points. Now today, what we're going to do is finish up with some visual displays of this information that you've collected and show you how to maintain and refresh it. Then finally, I'll show you how to take these charts and graphs and give you some examples of how you can tell a story through creating some simple PowerPoint slide decks. Because you can't just send your stakeholders an Excel spreadsheet. So let's get started. So in part 2, we left off with creating some different pivot tables and the splicer so that you can filter the information by individual recruiter. What we're going to do here today is take this raw data in the pivot tables and transform it into a chart or a graph. And so one of the things I want to show you here is that when you have this raw data in pivot tables, you can actually narrow it down. So that way you don't have to see all the competitors or all the different job categories. We can actually narrow it down. And it is actually relevant to this one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to show our leaders the top 5 competitors that we have in our pipeline. So what we're going to do here is go into row labels. We're going to go to value filters. We're going to come down here to where it says top 10, and it's going to give us the opportunity to rank the top 10 or however we want to do it. We could go top 7 or top 5. So we're going to do top 5 for the sake of this exercise here. We're going to push OK, and now you can see this filters the top 5 competitors in our talent pipeline. Now what we're going to do is highlight the data point. We're going to go to insert. We're going to go to recommended charts, and it's going to recommend this chart here. Now 99% of the time it picks the right chart. So for this exercise here, we're going to go ahead and accept it. Now you have a chart. Before we go further, what we're going to do is we want to clean it up a little bit. First and foremost, I'd like to add the title. So we're going to go in here and add what this data is, what the data is in here. So we're going to go ahead and put in top 5 competitors and talent pipeline. There you go. And what I usually do is say, as of May 18th, 2020. So that way they know when this data was last updated. After you've done that, then you can come over here and you can remove this right here, because this is the legend, and not in every chart are you going to remove this, but for this one, there's really no measure of what this is trying to state. It's just stating total. So we're going to remove it. All you're going to do is highlight it, click delete, and now it just gives you the top 5, but it doesn't show you the numerical value. We're going to come up here to this little box here where it says the little plus. Going to add, click on it, and now we're going to go to data labels. And as you can see, when we click on it, it added the data at the top of the chart here. If you want, you can add it anywhere you prefer, center, inside, insert base, or outside end, and you can do callouts. Each one has a purpose. I personally just like the outside end, so I'm going to click this here. Next, what I want to do is look at the color. I don't like blue. I like to tend to do my charts to match the company logo or company color. So if you want to do that, you can come over here and go to color, and I'll give you the opportunity to pick the color that you want. If you want blue, you want orange, blue, green, rust, whatever you want, you can put it on that. So I'm going to use orange for the sake of this exercise here. Now we have an orange chart with the data points on top and the companies below. And then the last thing that we can do is if we highlight on the chart again, you can come where the little paintbrush is and go to style. And then you can look at the different styles that they offer in Excel here. For this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and use this one right here. And then boom, you're done. So you can size this however you want so that you can make it look a little bit better, make it bigger so that when you put it on your dashboard, it looks nice there. So we're going to use this here. You're set. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for job category, just so that you can get the swing of how to do this. We're going to go ahead and click highlight. You're going to click insert, recommended charts. It picks a chart for us. And again, going to come here and say talent pipeline by job ad. There we go. And then you're set. So again, we're going to remove the total because it's not really representing anything in the legend. We're going to go ahead and add the data points through data labels. Outside, and then we're going to come up here to color. And then the last thing that we want to do is look at the style. So highlight that, click on style. Try to keep your charts and graphs the similar style when you're on your dashboard, so that way it's clean. So I'm going to use that same one that I used for competitors, and there you have it. So you now have your two charts. The last chart that we're going to do is the quality of candidate. Now this one's a little bit more complex because you're going to use the pie chart, but fairly easy to do. So what you're going to do here is you're going to go ahead and again highlight the information, insert. You're going to go to recommended, and it's going to actually do columns, but we want to do a pie chart. We want to be able to show the percentage of accepted candidates for the quality of candidates that we have here. So we're going to go ahead and click the pie chart, push OK. Put this over here so that you can see the different chart. And we're going to go ahead and type in quality of candidate. And as you see here, there is a legend, which is great because we actually need this, because we need to know what blue means and what orange means. So we're going to leave the legend on this one. But in my preference, I like to put the legend at the bottom of the chart. So as you see, legend is checked off. We're going to push the arrow, and it'll allow you to change where you want to put that legend. You can put it at the top, left, bottom, wherever you'd like to put it. I like putting it on the bottom here. So we're going to click on the bottom. And now you're set there. And for color-wise, again, you can come in here and change the color. If you want orange and yellow, you want blue and you can choose whatever you'd like right there. So we're going to go orange and yellow. And so now you have accepted and rejected candidates. You have the pie chart. We need to put some numerical values in there. And what we want to do here is we don't want to have the number. We want to show the percentage. So we're going to go ahead and click data labels. It will put the numbers in there. We're going to put the arrow, and then it does not show, it just shows you where you can put the data. If you go to more options, it now allows you to say if you want to put in value or percentage. So we're going to uncheck value, and we're going to put percentage. If you want to show value, you can do that, because sometimes it's nice to show them the quality of talent of what you're submitted to the leaders, so that they can see the actual work that you've done. So for this exercise, we'll leave it like this right here, so that you can see the number of people that have been rejected and the number of the people that have been accepted. So we now have a chart that shows you that information here. So you can click out this. We don't need this anymore. You have your chart that shows you the quality of candidate, and probably want to say quality of candidate submitted to manager. Manager. And then you're going to do one last thing, look at styles. So there's lots of different styles here. Again, pick the one that you feel matches what you would like to share. So I'm going to use this one right here. And then if you want this data point to be bolded to show it in better detail, you can do so. What I typically do is I like to bold the point that is most relevant to what the story I'm trying to tell. So if you double click the data, now what you can do is just highlight it and then just click bold. And then if you want the font to be a little bit bigger, because again, you want to show the success that you're having, there you go. Click on that. So here you have your data points. And again, you show that you have 69% quality of candidates submitted to your hiring manager. You have 31% rejected, and you can tell what those are there. Now, as I shared with you in the part 2 series, you have the splicer so that you can share this data. So if you create these charts in the same worksheet here, it's going to be tied to this splicer here still. So again, we can clear the filter, and it's going to show all the data. So for the whole talent acquisition team here, because there's multiple recruiters, it shows that you have a quality of candidate at 79%. Now, if you want to look at a certain person, let's say you want to look at C, well, this person has 100%, or E, they have a 26% quality of candidate submitted. So this is a great way to be able to share your leaders some information. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take this information and you're going to put it over to your dashboard, because you don't want to share, in your dashboard, this is kind of like your worksheet that you're working in, but you want something that when you're doing, when you're working in a meeting and you want to be able to show the data in action, you can you want it to be clean so that they don't see all the different pivot tables. So all you have to do is highlight the charts. Oops. Just highlight, copy, and I've created a training dashboard. We're going to go ahead and paste it, and we'll keep doing that for all the other ones. And you want to take this splicer, because you can take that with you as well, and you're going to put it at the top. So you can move these charts around so that way you can establish the pattern of how you want them to look. Make sure you kind of space it out evenly, so again that it's appealing to the eye there. So now that you've done that, what I did in the other dashboard is I just highlighted underneath and then put a color behind it. You don't need to do this, but again, it just adds an additional appeal when you're sharing. So I'm going to use gray on this one right here. So now you have your dashboard. You can move this information through the different recruiters, and you can tell the story by recruiter or by the whole organization. So that's pretty much what we're going to do. And if you do this with each of the different data points that I shared with you in part 2 and part 1 and part 2, you can have a sample dashboard that's going to look like this here. All right, so what I've showed you now is how to create the charts and graphs and how you have the dashboard. But next, as you are pipelining and adding talent to your talent pipeline, you're going to have new information that you're going to add, and this information is going to adjust and increase over time. The one downfall with Excel is it doesn't refresh on its own. So what you need to do as you add information, and I've copied some information that I'm going to go ahead and add to the bottom of this list here so you can see how it works, is you're going to go ahead and let's just say you're adding new talent to the pipeline. And then when you go to the dashboard, so you can see it in action, we're going to go ahead and push refresh. And if you keep your eye on the quality of candidate, you'll see that it changes a little bit here. And it reduced. So with those new talent, the quality of candidate reduced, and all the other talent pipelines changed as well there. So you just need to make sure that as you get ready to share your information to leaders and your stakeholders, before you actually put this into a slide deck or you go to a meeting, click refresh all, and then the information will be updated for you here. So finally, you have your dashboard. You have your data. And now the most important part of having all this information is to be able to share it with your stakeholders so that you can tell them a story about what you're doing with talent pipelining and what you're doing on talent acquisition. And so again, as I mentioned at the beginning, you're not going to want to share or send over the Excel spreadsheet. Many of your stakeholders are not going to know how to maneuver the information or slice and dice it up. So that's really your job as a talent acquisition professional, is to put together some kind of summary of the things and activities that you're doing, because this is how you influence your leaders on making decisions. It also allows you to share with them really what you're doing and the impact you're making on the organization overall. So this is just a sample. I do something a little bit different, but this is something that's kind of basic and easy that you can use to really share a story. So when you're going into a leadership meeting or a stakeholder meeting, you want to have kind of a topic of what you're going to be talking about, pipeline sourcing update, and you're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on. Maybe you're doing this on a monthly or quarterly, and then maybe at the end of the year do a yearly progress report. In addition to that, pull a couple of highlights from the data that you want to share. Some things that maybe are wins or something that is really impactful to the organization. And then share your needs, what you need and the commitments that you need from the business, because it's not all about just letting the organization know what you're doing, but also let them know that you need something from them in order to make this successful in building this pipeline. Because in a later series, I'll talk a little bit about pipeline sourcing from a strategic standpoint, not from a data standpoint, that will go in the importance of not just letting the stakeholders kind of drag you around and tell them what they need you to do, but become strategic and talking a little bit about what you're doing and what the organization needs based on what you're doing and what the research that you've done and so on and such like that as well. So sample dashboard information that I have shared in the slide deck here is you put some of your charts and graphs that maybe you've created, but then what you want to do is go ahead and put some information there. You just don't want to load it up with charts and graphs because that doesn't tell a story. So try to keep it to 2 or 3 charts or graphs, but then also put some information in here. So for example, the story that you want to tell is maybe define what quality of candidate is, because what you are thinking what quality of candidate is, and what your team knows what quality of candidate is, the leadership team may not necessarily know what that is. So explain what that is. Insert what 81% represent. So if that's 1,000 candidates that have been submitted and 81% of them have been accepted, share that with them so that they know. Share a win as well. Talk about a candidate you submitted on a position that hadn't been open, that the leadership team or manager opened up because they got a really good candidate that they couldn't turn away and hold on to for a future opening, and they decided to open up a requisition because this was such an outstanding candidate. Try not to put more than maybe 3 or 4 bullets, just for the fact that too much information will get lost. So keep it very simple. And then from the pipeline status standpoint, again, just share some of the highlights and some of the changes since the last report. Again, show successes, because those are things that leadership likes to see. They like to see the successes that you've had. And then in the second slide, again, you may want to show them the top 10 companies in your talent pipeline. This again shows the leaders and your stakeholders where you're sourcing and where our talent pipeline is. Discuss the challenges. Don't whine, but share solutions. Say, hey, here are some challenges. Here are the solutions. Here's the things that we're doing to overcome some of those challenges. But then also, if there's some things that you need from your leadership team, this is where you go ahead and say, hey, this is what we need in order to be successful. And then from a category standpoint, this again just gives a high level of where you're at in your talent pipeline. This allows you to tell a story of, hey, you know what, we are strong in sales, but maybe we need to build our HR pipeline a little bit, or our marketing talent pipeline, and talk a little bit about what you're going to do to grow that over the next quarter or the next few months. So that way they understand that you're not just going to grow it, but this is what you're going to do tactically and strategically to make that happen. With all this information, it's great that you have your own internal data that you have in your talent pipeline, but this is a great opportunity to take some information from the market intelligence that you have, whether you're getting it from LinkedIn Insights or you're using other tools like Talent Neuron, using Google, doing some things on Google. You can get information on what you're finding out. And it may be information that you're getting directly from talking to the candidates, because as you're building pipelines, you're talking to candidates from the different organizations, and they're going to be able to tell you what their compensation, what their bonus structure looks like, if they're hiring or if they're laying people off. This is great information that you can share in a summary with your stakeholders and leaders so that they know what's going on, because they may know some things based on what they see in their network, but you're talking to the people that are really at the ground level that you're sourcing for opportunities, and they're going to give you information, especially if they are looking, they're going to be more willing to share about what's going on in the current climate of some of our competitors as well. So this is a couple of slides that you can use. You can obviously add some information if you want, depending on how much time you have to spend on your talent pipeline and your meetings with your stakeholders. But again, you look at the data that you have and determine what data you think is going to be most beneficial for you to share with your stakeholders. So with everything that we've talked about in this three-part series, you now have the foundation to start creating something that will get your leaders to recognize your efforts as a talent acquisition professional by telling a story through data, because we all know that data drives decisions. I hope you were able to take something from this session and apply it to your life as a recruiter. If you're interested in learning more, I'll be hosting a 40-minute live Zoom meeting tomorrow on the 19th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, where I will be sharing a couple of items I didn't get to share here in this three-part series, and then I'll give you the opportunity to ask me questions as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll look forward to talking to you. Have a great day.